Welcome to the December 19th, 2024 Planning Commission public hearing. I'm calling the meeting to order. Will the clerk take the roll, please?
Commissioner Connigan?
Here.
Grant?
Here.
Ante?
Here.
Varga?
Here.
Stimson?
Here.
Chair Treflet?
Here. Thank you. Okay, can I motion for approval of the agenda as written?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
I did not get those motion makers, I'm sorry.
Steve and you seconded, didn't you?
And Grant? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, first item on the agenda is public hearing, amend PUD 2 2021, including revised site plan 59/5/2022. Location is 27412 Mile. Parcel number is 22-23-12-476-008. Construction of site-built one-family detached units with RA1B and one-family residential. This public hearing is a recommendation to the City Council by Robertson Brothers Homes. Mr. Hang on a second. Public hearings. Applicant first. Yes? Applicant first. Yeah. No, yeah.
Tim?
Hello, everyone. Tim Lockran, Robertson Homes, 6905 Telegraph Road. I'm really hoping I don't get out as late as I did last time, so hopefully you guys can help me with that. Can we put up our presentation? Please. I think it's a PDF. It's actually on this computer.
Okay, if it's on the. There we go.
Okay, thank you. There we go, thank you. Good to see you again. So again, this is the Villas of Pebble Creek, which is, everybody else knows it as the Sarah Fisher site, which we've been working on for many, many years, as everybody knows. Have had a couple different site plans approved on it, and I think it's just gotten better every time. And we no longer have the skilled nursing facility, so we're proposing basically an exclusive enclave of detached condominium homes, which will keep the historical significance of the location, which I think is a really important site. So just from a context perspective, the site, I think everybody's familiar with it, but it's at 12 Mile and Inkster, the northwest corner. It's about 35 acres or so, 36 acres, and currently there are a number of buildings that have been basically abandoned there for quite some time. But they do have a lot of historical significance, which we'll get to in a second here. But really good location as far as access to freeways, and we think it's just a perfect place for what we're proposing here, ranch detached condominiums, which I know is in demand in the city. So jogging your memory, and I think there's a couple new commissioners here, there were a couple different approvals on the site. So from the very top is the original approval, which I think was it was 94 homes. I can't remember the breakdown between the townhomes. I think there might have been 60-some townhomes and 30-some detached condominiums. And that's the residential portion. It's really confusing. North is to the left, so just bear with me on that, because I always want to think north is up, but it's not. And then we had, you can see, a skilled nursing facility. We were working in conjunction with Optalis, if you remember Raj. He had kind of started on this and looking for a partner. We have since bought him out of this deal. It is our project at this point, still owned by Evangelical Homes. So that was approved, and I want to say shortly after COVID, or maybe even right before COVID. I should have the dates in my head, and I apologize. Because of COVID, the demand really for townhomes waned quite a bit, and obviously people were looking for more space. And we had proposed, in lieu of the townhomes, reducing the density and doing more of the detached condominiums, which I think for the most part was welcomed by the neighbors, by you guys, by the city council. And so you can see on the bottom, that was approved. with, I think there were 52, sorry, detached condominiums, and it still had the skilled nursing facility. Never really quite was cohesive. There wasn't a connection between the two, which we didn't want, but there were some issues with access overall. We had a connection to Cheswick, which I think everybody remembers all of that. Those were not fun discussions, but that is what's approved actually today. What we're proposing is to complete the project all as a detached condominium development. There would be 4 lots along the 12-mile road. Since it's disconnected, it makes sense. Previously, those are, I don't know if you can see my cursor, yeah. Previously, this area here was not defined whatsoever, and I know staff had been asking Optalis, who controlled that portion, to have some definition on that. There really wasn't any definition. We came in and said, I think that makes sense for single-family lots. So that's what we're proposing there. But the rest of the site, all of this would be, again, the proposal for the 75 detached condominiums. These are all ranch condominiums. So you can see in the top right, you own the house, you don't own the lot. There are no lots. It's all common areas. So everything you see in green will be maintained by a homeowners association. No, no pools, no play areas, that sort of thing. This is we built a number of these. Obviously, we're building up the street a little bit, which is a higher end version of this, which is a price point that takes a lot longer to build out. But this is something we've been building in other communities, and I think it's a perfect location, a perfect spot for this. We've been looking for a while to build in Farmington Hills. One of the things you'll notice right away, I think, on the left, which again is north, there is no connection to Cheswick. We're not proposing to connect there at all. Now that we have a larger area to deal with, we can get our 2 points of access easily. So the main access is kind of in the middle, which is on the top of the site plan. That's a boulevarded entrance. We like the boulevarded entrance. I think engineering staff had some concern with it. We really want to push for the boulevarded entrance. And part of that is it gives you a nice, approach as you're coming into the community. It also really frames the next thing you'll see as you come in, which is that chapel building that we are going to be rehabbing. I'm going to show you that in just a bit. We did receive approval from the historic district to essentially remove most of the buildings, but keep the chapel building and rehab it and make it part of the community. It's a community building. So we think that that's much better than what the previous plan had, and I'll show you why, just because this is now integrated in our project. So as you come in through that boulevarded entrance, you see this beautiful chapel that's been rehabbed, and gathering area as well, which is kind of popped out into the right there. Just a couple other things on this. We are providing quite a bit of a screen to Inkster. We think that's important just to give some green space as people are driving down Inkster, and also to provide for buffer from those homes. That's important. You'll notice we don't have as much of a new buffer for the homes on the west, which is down, which is confusing. And that's really because now we're fully residential to residential, and there's quite a bit of screen. If you guys want to walk it, I'll walk it with you sometime. We did walk it with representatives from the adjacent neighborhood, and they agreed. There's just a lot of landscaping, a lot of trees that are existing right now. There's no reason to buffer to that. It's beautiful as it is, and it provides that screen. We felt it was better to use those required plantings on Inkster instead. And then I've sent you a letter as part of the package. You should have that. We've agreed with the neighborhood. They've agreed that that's not as necessary along the western boundary, but Cheswick is important, and we've agreed to plant 10 additional 12-foot evergreen trees along Cheswick, because a number of them have died, and it'd be nice to make that, it's a beautiful street. Let's keep it beautiful. So that's really most of the site plan. Of course, I can come back to it. There is a lift station, sewer lift station, that the city will be building next year, 2025. It is on the property now. The city wanted it along 12 miles, so we're donating land here for that lift station, which I believe is going to start in the spring. So, which is important for us. That's kind of been the reason why we haven't been able to get further than we are today. We've been waiting on that lift station to start going through the process. So that's the site plan, and certainly we can come back to it when you guys have questions for me. Just from a couple of highlights, we just think that this is a product that's in demand, not only in your community, really throughout Southeast Michigan, but we do think it's something that is really in demand in Farmington Hills. Again, 75 age-targeted ranch condominium homes, and then the 4 single-family homes along 12 Mile. Obviously, it's a tax-exempt user. It's a they're not providing any taxes at this point. We'd be having 79 new taxpayers. We've got a lot of internal amenities, as you saw from the plan that we have. I think that's gotten better as we've gone by now that we have the entire site. And we are using a number of the materials, so we have to reuse some of those materials that we get from the existing buildings. We're keeping the the gates and the wall that's at the corner, if you know what I'm talking about. That's all very important. And there's a few other things as part of our agreement with the historic district that really keep a lot of that tradition and history of Sarah Fisher. It's a walkable and inviting community. There's going to be paths, sidewalks, and that's just something that the residents are going to be able to use. I've said this already, but it's a housing option that you just don't have a lot of in your city. So we do think that that's a value and a highlight of the project. And then again, I talked about the buffering and then the transition to surrounding land uses. So coming from a busy street as Inkster, very commercial, we think this is a very good transitional use to some of the residential to the west. So I wanted to get into this real quick. I don't think I need to tell any of you, but there is a lot of demand for this type of housing. So when we look at SEMCOG data, it tells us that your community, just your community alone, really needs 100 of these a year. I mean, we're talking about 75, so we're not even a year's worth, but that is really where all the growth is going to be going. And you can see, I'd argue some of these numbers, I think you're going to grow more with seniors without seniors, but nonetheless, this really tells you where the growth is going to be focused in your community. And then that type of buyer, it's age targeted. We can't guarantee that a family's not going to live in there, but it's not a house that they would typically want to buy. So this is typically going to be a downsizing couple. Kids are out of the house. They're looking to stay in your community. Their churches are there. Their friends are there. The restaurants are there. And there's only really 2 of them, right? So it's going to be less impact on utilities and certainly less impact on traffic. This comes from from Fleece and Vanderbrink, one of our traffic consultants, and it shows that it's almost half of the traffic as compared to a single family, which is kind of important when you're making these decisions about density and land use. Just quickly on the summary, I've mentioned it before, about 30 acres. We are requesting a PUD. It is already zoned PUD, so this is a major PUD site plan amendment for the 75 homes and the 4 single family. The ranch homes, there's going to be 2 types of ranch, but they're basically kind of the same. 2 bedrooms and a den. They typically put in a finished basement. We do have the option to put a couple bedrooms upstairs. It's not a second floor, it's like a cape. So it doesn't really impact, can't really even tell one from the other, to be honest. The cape's about 2,100 square feet. The ranches are gonna be between 1,800 and about 2,000. About 40% of the site is open space, either active or passive, which is a lot. I mean, that's more than I think you typically see. And that's a function of the site, but also the design that we've done on the site. And then we have that gathering area, which is important. We don't always do that. This is a larger site for us. It makes sense to have that community gathering area as you come in with that chapel. So I'm going to touch quickly on the historic district elements. Everything on the top part of this is what was already approved previously when the skilled nursing facility was part of the scope. It was attached to the skilled nursing facility. So it was really more like a chapel for residents and their families. It was connected by a breezeway. This is kind of hard to see, apologize, but it was connected by a breezeway, and it was kind of an open vestibule in the front. And it wasn't really defined after that. And it was sort of, I'm going to go back to this if you let me. It was really hidden behind a parking lot, and it wasn't in the front of the skilled nursing facility. It wasn't in an area that really was, and I guess I can look at this one, same thing, where it connected to our development. It was just kind of an afterthought, to be honest. And what we're proposing is to create really this centralized open or community gathering area with that chapel. It's not going to be cheap to build, but it's something that I think will be very, very nice for the community as a whole. And you can see that here, we're proposing to make it a little bit more residential. Before it was definitely more commercial with glass and steel, really working with what we have. We've got an architect right now creating the construction documents to make this all happen. So you were proposing this community area, which has some sculptures. I know that that's something that the city has kind of talked about before, so we're obviously amenable to doing that sort of thing and just creating a nice gathering spot in the middle of our community. So just quickly on some of the benefits. Again, we got about 40% open space. That's atypical even for us, but that's important because that creates a lot of open space that's good for the entire community. We're reusing a lot of the historic elements, rehabbing that chapel, which again will not be cheap. We're donating that land for the sanitary lift station, which is important. It serves that portion of the city. We'll have thoughtful community gathering space. We're embracing natural environment. Again, I talked about the transition to adjacent residents. We think this is a very appropriate land use, and then providing that high-quality housing product. We're not going to be taxing the capacity whatsoever, obviously with the new lift station coming in, and we already had a number of REUs that existed on the property because it was a functional site before that. And then we will have a homeowners association. So I touched on that. The homeowners association will basically maintain everything. They'll maintain the landscaping, they'll maintain the roofs, they'll maintain the siding. And by the way, the siding is hardy. It's stone, it's brick. It's, you know, we're very high quality elements. I did want to take a couple minutes, if you'll let me, talk about some of the engineering comments. The reason I want to do this, some of these comments are kind of vestiges of when there was a skilled nursing facility, and that skilled nursing facility was going to go for a community redevelopment district grant, a CRD, the tune of about $2 million. We're not going to be proposing that. We are going to be submitting for a brownfield, which the previous plan was going to have to anyway. There's a lot of demo, obviously. But they were also going to go for a CRD in the amount of about $2 million. So this project has definitely gotten better for the city because A, you know, providing more of this product, but there won't be that CRD request that was previously there. So some of these requirements from engineering really came from the fact that the previous plan had anticipated getting a lot more incentives from you as the city, and we just can't really afford that with this project. So I want to go through some of those here. The first requirement is those 4 lots we have on 12 Mile. The requirement is to provide a gravity sewer to the new lift station, which is about 1,000 feet away. You can't afford that for 4 lots, so we just wouldn't build them. And I don't think that's the right thing. I don't know what to do with that land then. What we had talked about, and we had a discussion with the city and the county of putting in a low pressure connection that would then connect into that new lift station. It'd be a lot simpler, and the bigger issue is there's a creek that runs across 12 Mile. I don't even logistically know how to get the sewer underneath that. So we're not interested in doing that for 4 lots. So, you know, we're asking the city to, as they did agree in that meeting, to put in a low pressure connection instead. And the request also was to extend another manhole west of that creek to service some of the potential future users south of 12 Mile. I don't think this project should be saddled with that now that there's not the CRD request, but that comment still is on here. So we want to bring these up because we want to make sure that you know we're objecting to these before we move to the approval phases. The second one is, I don't think engineering staff likes that boulevard. If you tell us you don't want the boulevard, we'll take it out. We like it. We think it's appropriate. So we'd like to keep that boulevard in there. And then you can see there's an emergency access for, or emergency vehicle access here connecting to where the lift station is. And that essentially is twofold. It's for these units here and also for the lift station to have another point of access for emergency vehicles. We could rearrange this and maybe get a turnaround here, a cul-de-sac, but now that we've donated the land, we really don't have that opportunity. So we'd be losing units because of that lift station. And I don't think it's objectionable to have this long driveway, and it's only 3 lots. with an emergency vehicle access, yes.
What's the distance? The 3 lots?
Well, each of these homes is 40 feet, so it's probably 250 feet.
Okay.
So again, and we would, whatever the fire marshal would want to see as far as what those gates are, we had them in our previous one. We actually had, I think, 3 or 4 of them. So this would only be one. But that is one thing we certainly want to get on the record. And then a couple other things here. There's a requirement, there was a fire comment for a 50-foot turning radius. We will be providing a 50-foot turning radius. So I'm not saying ignore the fire comment, but I'm telling you we will be able to abide by it. There was also another comment. I think there was some concern about this driveway here on the north side being a little bit too long. I'm proposing to put basically stop the driveway, or I'm sorry, the road right here where this red line is, and then having a longer driveway for Unit 71. We've done that in a number of communities. I think that that's appropriate, and it would shorten the length of that road there. So that's something that we would propose back during our final site plan if you're so inclined. There was also another question about Unit 68. We can talk about how this all looks, but this is not a single-family neighborhood. So I think sometimes people look at detached condominiums and the layout and how the homes are situated, and they think, well, that's a weird lot. That's not how this functions. It's not a single-family home. I think Unit 68 would definitely be a premium lot because they have quite a bit of landscaping here, and they have more of a buffer to their neighbors. It might be atypical, but this is a design that we're comfortable with. I think the buyers will be comfortable with, and I'm not sure why I think the comment is to remove it. I don't know who's benefiting by removing that. I think it's a good lot, and I think people will want to buy that. So we want to get that on record as well. Yeah.
What's 67 looking at? Are those windows all along there? They'd be seen from 68?
So we have windows so one side would be bedroom, one side would be the den, and then part of the kitchen.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, honestly, we will screen that. There's
Okay.
no question. It's not showing trees. There's no question. My VP of sales will say, put trees in there, and we will. So we're not concerned with it from a developer standpoint whatsoever.
Keep going.
These 4 lots, engineering wanted to see a shared driveway that basically runs all the way across here. The issue with these lots, we're meeting the lot minimum widths. We're requesting a little bit narrower from what the underlying zoning district is. But generally speaking, these lots are very, they functionally are shallow because of the open space behind it. It just drops down. There's a floodplain back there.
Green back there, isn't it?
There is, correct. And a floodplain. So the thought is there's certainly enough room for a building and a functional backyard. These are pretty large building envelopes, but if you put a road in front, that's going to eat up the entire front yard. So what we're proposing is to do something like a T-turnaround, because I think the objection is you don't want people backing out a 12-mile. We don't either. So if we have something like this, we're proposing that. I'd propose it to engineering, and I think there was some, bring it to the planning commission, the city council. I think this is a better use than having a large second ribbon road, if you will, which is what.
Talk to road commission about 4 curb cuts?
That'll be part of it, certainly. If the road commission says no, I don't think there'll be an issue from our preliminary discussions, but we will still need approval.
They're working on that this year.
Okay.
They're widening that to a 3-lane cross section in there.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We will get in front of that for sure. And then the last one here, and this is kind of maybe a minor thing, but we like to have less storm infrastructure and less pipe and less manholes. It's just unnecessary to have that much. It's more things to go wrong. It's more maintenance and that sort of thing. Typically, in cases like this, 71 through 75, we would propose not having any rear catch basins and storm lines because it goes into the detention pond anyway. So
Downhill.
yes, so it doesn't make sense to capture it, put it in a pipe, and then put it into a detention pond. So it's a minor thing,
You're
but
killing trees if you.
and yes, that's actually a good point. We couldn't plant in some of those areas too. So we're hoping for a little bit of relief there as well. All in all, I think these were the only issues we really had with planning or engineering. But I didn't want to just say yes, we're fine with engineering because that would be a lie. So these are the comments we have. Any questions on any of that before I jump on?
Dale.
John, actually, I have a question for the city attorney. So our approval or denial is basically subject to generally approval by or working with the engineering department, fire department, whatever. So what I'm hearing is there are a lot of conditions that the applicant is concerned about that may not really, we may not have any impact or influence on whether engineering decides what they decide.
Yeah, I think that's generally correct. I think the one item that I think you might want to weigh in on is the boulevard entrance, because I think you can affect that, and you should determine what you want to see there.
But that's a design kind of
Yeah,
feature.
that's a plan feature. The rest of these that Mr. Lawford brought up are things that'll be decided through engineering.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make that point. That's things that the applicant's going to have to work out with engineering and stuff to relate to design, and that's when we weigh in on that.
We have representatives from engineering tonight. Do you
Yeah,
wish to,
that's great, too.
do you wish to make any comments on this? You're here on overtime, you might as well talk.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think our direction is that our comments are pretty firm. We haven't discussed what those alternates that he was presenting, but Jim did say that we are pretty firm in our requirements.
And I guess, Mr. Chair, just to follow up on that, just sort of practically, a lot of these engineering issues will sort of get decided as the agreement between the parties gets put together. So some of these things aren't shown on the plans, you know, you're talking about them, they're in the engineering letter. It'll go to city council, they'll direct an agreement to be prepared, and a lot of these get ironed out at that point.
Where are we in the PUD agreement? Are we still drafting it?
It's not been drafted at all, so
Not at all, okay.
you're at the very beginning here. Oh, I'm sorry, the amendment has not, obviously,
yes.
there is a PUD agreement, but these kind of details would go in an amendment, which has not been started.
Steve, do you have any comments? Okay.
John?
Yes.
Just one last comment. I mean, just a general opinion. For me, the 4 lots, while it's part of a larger plan, I frankly see that as separate from a design standpoint. And I would be opposed to a lot of paving paralleling 12-mile road. I don't see the value of that. I would be more in favor of individual curb cuts, and it'll be up to the applicant owner or whatever to get their necessary approvals if they want to develop the
I
property.
mean, there are curb cuts across the street.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hopefully that would be, the road commissioner go with that. It's their road.
Actually, John.
Yes?
Yeah, with regards to those 4 lots, is that something you plan to build on or sell those 4 lots for individual builders?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think right now, I don't know. We'd probably build them with one of our single-family series, but I wouldn't say that we'd take it off the table that we'd sell them as custom lots. So, I know that's kind of a wishy-washy, but I think it's still to be determined, but.
Okay. Anybody else?
Well, speaking of those lots, are you saying that there's no interest, or did you make these lots available because you did see some interest in those lots pre?
Oh, we would be happy to build them. I think there would be people interested.
Already, is there?
No, we have
interest?
not marketed anything in this project yet.
Okay, and while I have you, I have a question. On the other side of Inkster, Southfield side, there's a community called the Villas at Pebble Creek already.
Wow, geez.
So are you part of that, or is that separate? Do you know where I'm talking?
No,
Just right
it's not.
past.
I honestly didn't even know
Between
that.
Inkster and Northwestern, there's a community.
So is it on the map here?
Yeah, I think they're called the Villas at Pebble.
Apple Blossom Lane, or is that the community?
On here?
It's like,
Huh?
it's like Apple Blossom Lane
No,
or something?
Apple
That's-
Blossoms are no, that's Apple Blossoms off of Inkster going toward, between 12 and that Northwestern. I'm talking Inkster and Northwestern.
Oh, gotcha.
Southfield side.
Let me look into it. I mean, we'd like to, I know there's multiple communities named the same thing. We'd probably want to keep that, but if the city says no,
I
we'll
just didn't know
certainly
if you were
change it.
part of because it's the same name.
No, it's not.
Okay.
You just don't want those Amazon boxes going.
That's a good point.
Okay, thank you, Tunji. Joe?
I just assume that the creek that runs there is called Pebble
Yeah,
Creek.
yes.
So it's not surprising that multiple things are named Pebble Creek, and yours are the villas
Yeah.
at Pebble Creek. So you're probably fine.
Oh, did you say village or villas?
Villas.
Oh, it is villas.
I'm pretty sure it's villas.
All right,
of,
I'll
Pebble
take a
Creek.
look into that. But
Yeah.
yes, it is Pebble Creek, and that's how we're not too creative. We look at what's out there existing. It's either the villas or the preserve or whatever.
Well, many developers are quite creative.
Yeah, yeah. If I can just get into product design a little bit, you've all seen this before, same as we've proposed before, but we think these are very rich detail, high-quality materials, brick, stone, obviously, hardy board. We'll have multiple color packs, so you won't have the same house next to each other with the same colors and across the street as well. So we'll self-impose that, but we're happy to put it in the PUD agreement as well. But you can walk these homes. We're just finishing up in Northville. We're just finishing up in Troy. There's a lot of demand out there, so you can still walk a model if you want, but certainly we're looking to build more.
Where are they in Northville?
Northville, 6 Mile and Ridge. Yeah, we just closed our last home there. That's a beautiful project. And then
How
this
many
is
units out
that
there?
that one.
6 and Ridge.
That one, 77. We started out with duplexes, and nobody wanted the duplexes. They wanted to be separated. So we went back, we lost 5 lots, and it was a great project. So,
But they're selling now.
what's that?
They're selling now.
Oh, they're gone, yeah, they're
down to the
done,
last.
yeah. So,
Thank you, Nancy, for that.
and
Anyone
then
else?
that's the floor plan here.
Do you have anything else?
No, just the floor plan here. I think that was my last
Okay.
slide here, so. No, I'm happy to answer any questions you have, thank you.
We're doing municipal waste in here, right?
Yes.
City garbage service?
Yes, so the typical, and every community is different, but it is curbside, just like a single-family
Like a
neighborhood.
single family, okay.
Yes.
And your snow removal then is private sector?
So private, yes, and I didn't mention that, but the HOA would also do the maintenance of the roads. They'd be private roads. They do snow removal, that sort of thing, yes.
Okay. All right, anyone else have, Commissioner, have any comments, questions? Okay. If you're done, I will open the public hearing.
Great, thank you.
Yes. Oh, sorry, Joe, I forgot your second. Go ahead, Joe. We'll hold off just a second.
All right, thanks. I will try not to repeat too much of what's already been said. But yes, there is an approved planned unit development for this site right now. That plan is for a 100-bed skilled nursing facility with 51 detached ranch homes. And this would change that to remove the 100-bed facility and do the whole site with 75 detached ranch homes targeted at seniors. As was noted, they're not on lots, they are owned from the walls in. And then there are those 4 individual single-family lots that are proposed to be split off along 12 Mile, and I will get to those in a little bit. Looking at the land use plan, breaks down the property is 17.15 acres for the detached residential. Those single-family lots are 2.85 acres net, and then there's 11.5 acres that is natural preservation, which is about 36.5% of the site. Net density of the full site by unit count is 2.7 dwelling units per acre. I've got some more comments on density a little further down in the letter. They are preserving the historic chapel in the corner feature there. The rest of the buildings on the site will go. So looking at the density again, 79 total units, 4 of which are on those split lots. 4 split lots, they meet the minimum lot size requirement. They do not meet the minimum lot width requirement of the district. So in order to split 4 there, they would have to get some relief from you and city council as part of the planned unit development agreement. For the width of those lots, they're 111 feet and the requirement is 140. Without that relief, they would have to go down to 3 lots there.
Joe, what was the difference in the lot width from our standard?
111 is what they're proposing, and the requirement is 140.
104 versus 111?
140.
40, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, so they're just about 30 feet off. And then they've got the 75 detached single-family units in that 17-acre area. The RA1B district, which is the underlying district, requires a minimum lot size of 26,000 square feet. That would be 1.675 units per acre. So the underlying density is, of course, exceeded, but at one point, we were looking at 94 units in a 14-acre area here, and the most recently approved version of the plan had 15 units over 14 acres, so the density overall has come down quite a bit from the first go-round, and then a little bit from the second go-round.
Joe, and a clarification, when you say go around, those were approved plans, right?
Those were approved PUD,
So prior
yeah.
densities
Yep.
were approved at a higher level. than what-
Exactly. This is the second amendment to this planned unit
Okay.
development. Yeah. So the dimensional standards of the district are met with the exception of the setback to Cheswick. So there is some relief needed there, 30 feet versus 50 feet. And that's just because we have the front yard standard on both rights of way. Sticking to the highlights here, they are, as was noted during the presentation, proposing not to add to the buffer along that western property line, so that would require relief from the ordinance as well. And then pedestrian circulation was the other note that we had in our letter. Eric brought it up last time as well. So there's sidewalk on one side of the road through most of the development. The north end doesn't have any sidewalks on it. So Eric, in his comments, was proposing that sidewalks could possibly be on both sides of the road throughout the development, and that's something that you should discuss. This is a planned unit development, so you should be clear about what you're okay with and what you're not okay with as far as that's concerned. The end of my letter does summarize the relief that's being sought from ordinance standards. So that's detached condos at a requested density of 75 units, permitting the reduced exterior side setback along Cheswick, permitting no installation of that western buffer, and then the 111-foot lot width for the splits where 140 is required. And I will echo what your attorney said, noting that the boulevard entrance that was the subject of some comments in the engineer's letter is a design element of the plan, and that's something that you should weigh in on as well as part of your discussion and motion.
Anyone have questions? Joe?
I have a question out of curiosity. The proponent mentioned something about the total tax revenue that's going to come in. We have separate line items in our tax bill, and one of them is a city tax for roads. That I remember it was passed largely for, if you will, residential roads. It's my understanding here that because this is all a condo, that's why it's not going to be a public road. And it has to be private roads, I'm assuming, because they're not parceling the land. I'm wondering, out of curiosity, do they still pay that additional road assessment?
That is an interesting
Every
question.
property pays the millage.
Because you're driving on roads once you leave that property.
Well, I thought the assessment was largely based on maintaining the residential roads.
But it's just a millage.
But-
So, yeah.
It was an item of curiosity. You know, maybe I'll use it on another case somewhere. Okay. Thank you.
Now you know.
Yes.
So Joe raises a good point. I guess question to engineering, even though it's going to be a private road system, will it be built to public road standards?
In terms of its construction, absolutely, yeah, it's going to have to be.
So it'll be built as in public road standards, but private road. Okay, thank you.
Tim, correct? Public road standards? Okay. Okay, great. Anyone else? No? Joe, you're done?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
if you're done with me, I'm done.
I can see you now. You're bending forward. Okay. I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to the subject, please come up and give your name to the clerk.
My name is Scott Griffin. I'm representing the Hickory Oaks subdivision. Just 2 points. One, to confirm that everything that Tim said is what we understand too, that we've met with them a number of times, that they've done everything they said they would, that we have an agreement regarding landscaping. We agree with the plan. I just want to reaffirm that what he said is legit. Two, I wanted to thank the Planning Commission for taking the time and being patient with this project so that it came down from the 700 units or whatever it was at the beginning to what it is now, which is a pretty awesome development, I think. I think this is going to be a really good thing for everybody in the area, and we're in the area, and everybody likes what it is now, was concerned about what it was going to be before. So our subdivision, very happy with it. And thank you.
Thank you. That was kind of fun. Anybody else? Hank, you want to talk? No good? Okay. All right, if I don't see anybody else, nobody else wants to come up, I'll close the public hearing. It's back to the commission. For a recommendation to it.
John, I've got a question.
Sure.
For engineering. So what is the issue, boulevard versus no boulevard? What's the concern that engineering has in terms of that design?
I would have to defer to our traffic engineer, Mark, who isn't here. I'm not familiar with what the reasoning is, but I know that they're reviewing it with our, in our traffic study.
Okay.
Is there enough room there to get two cars, one going north and one going south on Inkster, side by side? Do you know? Is it wide enough? You or Joe, either one of you?
Taking a look here.
Tim, do you know offhand?
I do. They're, geez, I wish my eyes were better, but it's 21 feet on each side. So yes, there's plenty of
There's
room.
enough cars.
Yes,
They're not going to be stacking up, waiting for left
correct.
turns.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's no parking there, so
Right.
yes, there'll be plenty of room.
And have you had any discussions with Southfield, since it's their road, about repairing it?
We've had those initial discussions. It's been a while, to be honest, but I remember there were no concerns
Fine, but
on that.
because it's wide.
And if I can just add to the, I think some concern with the, and I'm just speculating, but the boulevard is just that it's not, it's atypical. I think some of the comments we got were just, this is not how we normally do things. And again, I wanted to point out, this is a condominium. It's not a typical type of community that you see. It's special because that's what it is, so.
So from my standpoint, and what I wanted to hear from engineering was, as long as it's not a corner clearance issue, site distance issue, corner clearance is something they look at, I don't have a problem with it.
I don't believe it is. I'm not speaking for him. I was in a meeting with them a couple weeks ago, and that wasn't, I didn't get that at all.
Right.
I want it not away and break.
I,
Yeah, we have,
Pretty common.
Yeah,
yeah, they're pretty common. Okay, thank you.
yes.
On the boulevard issue, I think that one thing that Mark might be looking at is the alignment of the driveway across the street. It's a little bit off, so you get people having to go past each other to go left. I think if it was actually moved a lot to the south, like if one jumped across the street, you might not have that issue anymore. I don't know if that's necessarily what Mark was looking at, but that was the thing that occurred to me as like, what, that might be what he was looking at.
I can answer that. I think what they lined it up width was the right out across here. So they actually did that on purpose, the alignment of where it's at. We started with that. So it actually is aligned with across the street with that right turn. So we have a traffic study, and actually one of the comments, I didn't mention this, one of the comments was have an updated traffic study. We did, and it basically said no additional improvements to Inkster.
Not even filling in the holes?
I don't have those conversations.
Okay, Steve?
Yeah, I guess I like the idea of a boulevard. My subdivision has one, I like it. I'm okay with the sidewalks on one side. Most subdivisions in the city have none.
Right.
So having one is a huge improvement. The one area I've got, I guess, a little bit of concern about or want to understand better are the 4 lots and why there's 4 versus 3. What's sort of the thinking about it, because the standard width is 140 versus 111, which really would make it more 3. 3 would fit in there without any issues. I'm just wondering, what's the reason other than 4 versus 3? Also, from a curb cut, my preference would be 3. I think putting 4 in there is a little out of character for the other homes along 12 that do have curb cuts. I don't think it's the one thing of the plan that gives me a little bit of an issue is the 4 versus 3.
I guess the only comment to that, and I appreciate your comments, I understand it. They meet the minimum lot area, so that was one thing we looked at. 111 feet is still a very wide lot. Our typical single-family lot is 60 feet, to be honest, 60 to 70 feet. So 111 is wholly appropriate for a single-family home. 140 is a lot, and we're not talking about, out in the middle of nowhere sort of thing. This is a 12-mile. So that was our thinking. I think the other part of it, to be honest, is the cost to even put those 3 or 4 in by the time we put in the low, the sewer. Again, we can't put a gravity system, but even the low volume sewer, that's a cost. So you're spreading it over 3 rather than 4. The water connections, I don't want to say it gets to a point where it's not worth it anymore, but it's expensive, and only 3 lots you're only spreading it across 3 instead of 4. So that was the rationale.
Joe?
On the 4 lots. Now, those 4 lots are not developed. They don't share the condominium association with the other area. They're just totally separate.
That's correct.
They weren't in this PUD until this edition. I would just prefer to treat this as a totally separate thing. And I could see where it could be a PUD where there would be 4 homes instead of 3 if, as one of the, we're preserving history and we're preserving nature with this PUD. And you have a lot of nature behind these lots. And you say, oh, the lots are big. They go deep. I haven't been back there to see how much of that is just nature that we could say, oh, we'll let you put 4 there if you only draw the lot so far back and leave the rest as a nature preserve. Yeah. I would just rather see it as a separate thing.
Yeah. John?
Yes, Steve?
I guess, Joe, you came, I mean, I didn't even think about that. Maybe this should be just totally left, no lots, and when there actually is a plan, we do another amendment to the PUD. I mean, this is the 3rd one to begin with. We could
do that.
Right. We leave these 4 with nothing, and then when there actually is a plan, okay, you want to put in 4 houses or you want to sell them. We just had a PUD in a business park to split parts of it apart, that's been a PUD since the 70s. I guess that's probably the thing I'm most leery about is there's just no definition around this at this point as part of the PUD. Maybe it ends up being something totally different in the future. Maybe it's best to just leave it.
Is that currently in your PUD?
Yes, it is. It was all, yes. So it was not included before, and staff had a concern with it being left for whatever. So we wanted to put definition on it, and frankly, we would never come back for the 4 lots. It would just be there forever. It's not worth it. This is a lot of work and time for us to come in front of you for a PUD amendment. I'm not gonna do it again for the 4 lots. So we thought we had it in the plan, and I guess I should have been a little stronger. We'll build the 4, if you say build the 4 lots as single family, we'll do that, if you want to have definition around that. But yeah, it's, to us, it's important that it's in the plan now, because we're not gonna come back and do this again. And I think the 4 lots is appropriate. I don't think that, there's any noticeable difference. It's not like it's a business where people are coming in and out all day. So I would argue that I think it's an appropriate use there.
John?
Well, I would suggest that the staff, after this, it goes to city council. There's a month. I would ask the staff to consider whether or not they would like to ask or encourage the city council to, shrink the back of the lots and just increase the amount of preservation.
So the lots, just to clarify, the lots don't go all the way back. Those trees
So
are,
I can see where they go.
Yeah.
And I can't, I didn't walk that area. My car was broken. I didn't walk that area to see what's back there or anything, so I'm just saying it's something that we haven't really addressed, and maybe staff can think about it between now and then when they take it to city council. I plan on supporting this.
Dale?
So I have a little bit different take on it. My sense is overall, even though we're looking at the 4 lots kind of separate from the other project because it's different in nature, is that this is part of the overall PUD that now this is the 3rd edition of, and that's property's always been in there, and that the overall density for the property is way down from where we started. And I think if I look at the lot areas of the 4 lots that I expect would be single-family detached homes, they are comparable to what I see to the west in terms of the existing development. So I don't see what's gained by 29 feet or whatever, 111 feet. And quite frankly, the efficiency of going through, we got a project that's probably the best we've seen on this property, and this has been going on through much of my career and in my stead here on the planning commission. I think it's a pretty good plan, so I support the 4 lots and wish them all the luck in the world.
Thank you. Yes, I'm not trying to make too big an issue of this, but I did want to say that, yes, it's become less and less dense, but what's happened is initially we were going to preserve several buildings, and it's not your fault. What I understand is that they have just deteriorated more and more and more over time, and now we're only left with 1 building that we can save. And one of my minor little concerns here is I want to see the large part of this project that includes the preservation built before I'm worried about those 4 lots down there. Okay?
Talking about phasing?
I'm not even talking about phasing. I'm saying those are so unimportant to me. The important thing here is to meet the goals of the Historic Preservation Committee as best we can.
Yeah, we've been dealing with this for a very long time. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, 15, 20 years.
We are ready to move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are we ready for a motion?
Yeah.
Yes?
Oh, do you have another question?
No, I got a motion. You want to do it? You got it?
Yes, I'd like to
Okay.
do it. I move to recommend to City Council that the application to amend Planned Unit Development Plan 2, 2021, including revised site plan 59-5-2022, dated October 17th, 2024, and November 4th, 2024, respectively, submitted by Robertson Brothers Homes, be approved because the plans are consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the master plan and the applicable provisions of the planned unit development option in section 34-320 of the zoning ordinance. This is subject to the modifications of zoning ordinance requirements as indicated on the proposed plan, modifications of zoning ordinance requirements as identified in Giffords-Webster's November 13th, 2024 review, and the following conditions. All outstanding issues identified in Giffords-Webster's November 13th, 2024 review shall be addressed to the reasonable satisfaction of the city planner. All outstanding issues identified in the city engineer's November 12th, 2024 inter-office correspondence shall be addressed to the reasonable satisfaction of the city engineer. And all outstanding issues identified in the fire marshal's November 11th, 2024 inter-office correspondence shall be addressed to the reasonable satisfaction of the fire marshal.
Second.
Moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
With comment?
Yes.
So to the maker of the motion, I don't have a problem with the driveway as he described it to lot 71, frankly, less pavement. I would, if that would be part of your motion as well, giving that longer driveway
Oh, yes,
to lot
sure.
71.
So,
Cheryl, you know what we're talking about?
as the developer mentioned, extending the driveway through to lot 71 to solve. But again, I think that is part of addressing the city engineers and fire marshal's concerns.
Well, I think that's actually a design feature of us, given the plans, the plan we're approving doesn't show it, so I just want to
Yeah.
make.
Correct.
so
That
that's
is a
not-
change from what we're showing, so.
Okay.
Okay,
Less pavement.
agreed.
Do we want to say something about us being okay with the boulevard coming in and the one-sided sidewalks?
Yes, and additionally, the commission approves the double boulevard coming in off of Inkster, as well as we are in support of the one-side sidewalks for pedestrian traffic.
I believe it's defined as a boulevard because it's got that median in between, so to say a double boulevard
Oh,
is
thank
almost
you.
like a double negative.
Okay, thank you, thanks for the correction. The boulevard itself.
Okay.
So this is a recommendation. These are three findings.
Yes.
I'm going to list them as three findings
Okay.
being recommended to city council. Is that correct?
Yes. And
Okay.
along with the printed sheet, Cheryl.
I'm sorry?
Along with the printed sheet that we got to go
Along
with
with the
this.
plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a matter of, I think, just emphasis. They're on the, two of the things are on the plan. The extended driveway to 71 isn't,
Yep.
but as described by the applicant, we're in favor of that.
Yep,
So is she okay with the amendments to the motion?
I am, I agree.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of this, signify by saying aye. Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Tim.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
It's a much earlier night than last time, so
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah,
We got you on
you.
first tonight.
I appreciate
Good luck
it.
with it.
Have a good night, thank you.
good night.
Thank you.
Next item, revised site plan, 59-9-2024. The location is 24,300 Drake Road. Proposal of a vehicle car wash within a B3 general business. The action requested is a site plan approval. The applicant is BWM Car Wash. Todd? Todd's here? Yes? The owner is Box Office Theaters.
Good evening. Jim Butler with PEA Group. Address is 1849 Pond Run, Auburn Hills, Michigan, 48326. As you recall, we were, or might recall, we were in front of you back in October the 17th, with this project. We asked to be postponed and to come back with you. Since then, we have made modifications to the plan, and what I have presented up on the screen right now, on the left-hand side is the plan that we came forward with previously, back in October, and the plan on the right is the revised site plan.
You're avoiding the dog bone then.
So what we did is we added a access drive onto Drake in the area directly across from the shopping center. So those drives do align. By doing that, we had to reconfigure how we access the drive-through for the stacking and into the car wash. We did provide a two-way drive on the north side of the property, connecting this site to the development or future development to the east. And then we also, as you can see, added a two-way drive to the north, which will service the enterprise site.
Are we taking out one curb cut by doing that?
We are not taking out a curb cut. There's an existing curb cut right now that we'll be utilizing,
Okay.
where we are showing our drive. Previously, we were taking that out.
Well, there's 3 of them there.
Those are off, yeah, there are, but those are off. There's two more. There's a vacant piece to the north of us that has a curb cut, and then there's another one to the north of there. So we will be utilizing the existing drives that are there.
Okay.
Also, we did have a traffic study completed for the site. It was submitted to the engineering department. I don't believe they've had the opportunity to review it, but we have our traffic consultant here this evening, and I'd like to have him just give you a kind of a brief overview of those findings, if I may.
Sure.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Steve Russo, traffic engineer with Collier's Engineering and Design, 20700 Civic Center Drive, Southfield, Michigan. So we did do a traffic study for the site, and I'll just kind of give you a quick high-level overview of it, and of course, if you guys got any questions or need any additional clarification, please just let me know. So we did go out, did some traffic counts at the existing Bush's driveway there that's on the west side of Drake Road. We also collected counts at the right-in, right-out drive right by AutoZone, as well as the existing McDonald's drive on Grand River, as well as a signalized intersection of Grand River and Drake, just so that way we could analyze any cues related to that intersections relative to the proposed driveway here. So we did run all that analysis, and just give you kind of a high-level, quick synopsis of our findings. There was the one movement at the intersection today of Grand River and Drake that doesn't operate as well as we would like, is that southbound left turn movement from Drake onto Grand River. Obviously, with the added traffic from this development, it will get slightly worse, but we did look at some timing, the timings of that signal, and with just some signal timing adjustments, you can mitigate that impact as well as improve it to an acceptable level and mitigate some of those cues that currently exist in that southbound left turn lane. As far as traffic coming out of that driveway, our analysis shows that everything will operate acceptably. We did also do a look at the queuing analysis on site with the related to the car wash operation. You know, we all know specifically sometimes in the spring, a lot of people want to get that salt off their cars. Cars can stack up, so we did look at that, and our analysis shows that, you know, what we would forecast as being the maximum queue in that situation would be entirely contained on site and would not spill out onto Drake Road. And I think that's pretty much about it, but like I said, if anyone's got any questions or needs any additional clarification, just...
I will ask you, you were talking about your people coming out and going toward Grand River, turning left. Was that the idea, interfering with the southbound Drake traffic in that lane? Is that the lane you were talking about?
Yeah, so the existing, that southbound left turn from Drake onto Grand River that utilizes that left turn
And
lane.
your people would be trying for the same
Right.
spot?
For this site?
Yeah.
Well, they'd typically be getting in earlier than what those people trying to go down to Grand River.
Depending how far back.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yep.
I'm interested in the process. You say you did a traffic study that said that the city should change slightly the timing of the, I assume, the left turn light.
Yep.
Now, is that detailed in your report?
Not the specific timings that they should implement.
I mean,
but-
how does that feedback get to the city engineering department?
So they'll, like Jim said, I believe we submitted a copy of the report to the engineering
But
department.
you just said it wasn't in the report, the details.
Oh, no, the details are in the report, yes.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I was just saying that I wasn't gonna get too detailed with my.
Right, but
with my-
exactly how you would suggest and
Yep.
why is detailed there, and then that gets submitted and
Yep.
hopefully it'll be better.
Yes, but I will say, the one thing I will point out is that's Grand River there is an MDOT roadway, so ultimately it's gonna have to go through MDOT.
Get that all the time from the city. It's never their road.
Yep, yep. I mean, they've got
And it never
Drake,
is.
but yep, they don't have Grand River, so.
Yeah.
But,
Okay. Dale?
Thank you for the revised plan. I think circulation works better than the previous plan. I am curious, though, about when you exit the car wash, you kind of direct the traffic to the east with the kind of the flare out to the east, and is that what is your thinking? You don't want cars to go back out to Drake?
Yes.
Okay, so the diffusion of traffic, if you gave them the option either way, are you being instructed not to send traffic to Drake out of the car wash? Is that why you designed it that way with that curb?
Well, it's being directed to go to Drake if you're coming out of the car wash. If you're coming out of the tunnel, the way it is turned, you would go south.
Right.
And then you'd go to Drake and you could make either a left or a right. Or if you wanted to, you could continue and go into either AutoZone, McDonald's, because there's that cross drive that sits there as well.
Okay, I don't know if I'm making myself clear. I'm talking about exiting the car wash,
The building.
The wash
the
itself,
building itself.
that's on the right-hand side. You're coming out, we have that arrow, one-way arrow, right? On the right-hand side, we're coming out. So they're going to be turning left out of the car wash
Okay.
to go to the access drive to Drake Road.
Right now, that'll be a dead end. Your most northerly road is a dead
Yeah.
end to the new property, right? To Lithia, that's
The
Lithia's.
property to the north and the property to the east, yes,
right.
it's dead end. In the future, those will be connected.
Okay, but at some future date, then you'd have to make modifications. There's no prohibition to going,
No, there is none.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, you could go right.
Anyone else?
I do, I know your planner is going to give you an overview of some of their comments. I'd like the opportunity to address some of those when we get to that.
Okay.
Thank you.
He probably should have gone first, too, as a matter of fact, but anyway.
Okay.
Sorry, Joe.
No problem.
I stole your thunder, Joe. My fault.
Right, so I think as we're aware, most of the revisions to the plan revolved around the circulation on the site and then connections to Drake Road. I'll kind of stick to our summary of issues because we have discussed this plan previously. So we have a couple of items that are for Planning Commission discussion. One is that we have a passage in our ordinance that discourages dead-end drive aisles with more than 8 spaces. In this case, what you have is a dead-end aisle, but they're like the wide spaces for the vacuums. So they're not typical parking spaces for the most part. There are a few in there. And basically the idea is that you just need to be able to turn around in there. You're basically assessing whether or not you're okay with that configuration. And then they have their hedge along the northern half of the Drake Road frontage, but not the southern half. That was something that we wanted to point out because you could discuss whether or not you think the hedge should be on the southern half as well. There is a portion of the site, of course, that's not being developed at present, so pending future development, you might leave it off that portion of the site. And then we have a few administrative review items, some easement agreements that'll be needed, location of a loading space, if they're loading off-peak, or when they're not open, then they could be using that aisle to the south of the building. Mechanical equipment screening, you can ignore bullet 4, that's an artifact from the previous review. They actually do have a 25-foot center line turning radius to 20 feet that we cite in the letter is on the curb. And then showing the egress stacking spaces beyond the washing bay. There is enough space there. They just haven't put the rectangles on the plan. And then some lighting issues that they got to smooth out. But the two major items for you are those discussion items that we point out on page 2 of our letter. You just have to basically weigh in on those in your motion. Are there any questions for me?
Nope. Okay. No questions. Joe, do you wish to,
Yeah, if I may. Regarding the hedge and extending the hedge, we can certainly do that as part of this development. Extend it to the south side of the drive. We're doing the landscaping anyway, so we might as well just clean all that up. Regarding the dead end, as Mr. Tangieri pointed out, those spaces are 12 feet wide, so people can maneuver in and out. They're not narrow spaces. So we would ask for your consideration on that dead end for the vacuum field only. And then one item I think he didn't bring up was the loading. There is loading that's done there. There's chemicals that are delivered for the car wash operation. It's mainly a small Q van is what shows up. And what we would suggest, if you look at the lower right, left-hand corner, we have 4 parking spaces next to for employees. The farthest one to the left, we could expand that a bit and mark that for loading and still meet the parking requirements.
okay.
So we could have that. Like I said, it's just a Q van that comes every so often for delivery of chemicals.
Okay. I have a question for you. Did you want to add anything else? Because I have a question for you.
Nope, go ahead.
The cameras in here are facing north or south?
I'm sorry?
The cameras, because you're using cameras to read the license plates, right? Todd?
Yeah. Now you're out of my league. I'll bring Mr.
Okay.
Casana.
Well, the reason I ask this is because when I go to some of the other places, they say, oh, the sun's in the way, it can't read your plate, so they have to manually enter, and it slows the whole thing down. And I'm trying to figure out if you guys have overcome.
So yeah, so the cars are coming in and the cars are going east as they're coming in, so the cameras are behind from the west.
Okay, so they're looking into the morning sun then, and
We work every day to improve that.
I know.
And
I see
a
your
lot of it
guys.
is the software provided to us from our point of sale system. And it's
yeah, because the automatic
we
system.
constantly try to get better.
Yeah, I know. Tangi?
As I'm thinking and going through other car washes, coming out of Drake and making that left, and then that's that lane to make that left onto Grand River, I am kind of concerned because I've seen other places like back up. And so they made it so that now you can instead of having to go left, you have to automatically go right to keep from avoiding accidents, right? Like the one at 12 on Orchard.
Well, 12 and Orchard Lake
Yeah,
is
and
one of the
so-
busiest intersections in Oakland County.
Yeah, I don't know
And
how
that
much
is- and
traffic in
that's-
that area.
I've had that
at
site for
certain
22
times.
years.
Pardon me?
I've had that site for 22 years.
Okay.
That site itself is, we don't have any other site like that has that issue of getting out into that left turn lane. A lot of people go right and go down 12 Mile Road east, and
well,
then at some
you're-
point
you're
turn back
instructed to go
around.
right.
Yeah.
They're telling you to go
We're
right.
trying to get
Yeah.
people out of line, yeah.
So you don't see that
I don't
being
know,
an
I don't
issue?
expect that issue as far as we
That
are
it's-
away from that turn
It's an
signal.
accident hazard.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
one at 12 and Orchard.
Yeah. But I don't see that at this site. We're further from the signal, and it's also just not as busy as an intersection as the 12 and Orchard.
I have a question for you, Todd. At the 12 and Orchard, how far land do you own toward the Crab House? How much of that is yours out there, your side lot?
We just have, we actually are working with the owners of the Crab House, who I don't know if you guys know Norm Pappas, but he owns the Crab House, and we're hoping to get that property.
That would be a way to
Because
stack-
we would,
stack the
well, our
cars.
plan is to exit that way, run through, we would move our vacuums onto that site, run through a vacuum field and back out, and that would be much safer intersection.
Yes.
Or ingress egress to get out.
Yeah, stop the backup on 12.
So right now, the tenants in that restaurant do not want to leave, so, they're not doing any business,
I
so.
was just gonna say, I never see a car
Yeah,
there, but
either-
anyway, that's
either
not your
way.
fault. All right, Todd, thank you for that.
They say most of their businesses, I was just saying, they say most of their businesses is call-in.
Oh, okay, anyway. Questions? Are we ready for a motion?
I was just gonna say, thanks for making the changes requested with regards to the access. That's a huge improvement over the last one.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So when are you going to be open?
Well, we would plan to be open by the end of 2025.
You're getting my money now, so.
Yeah, that's going to be my question, was the duration of construction.
Okay, motion?
Did you have a question? Oh, okay. Wants to make a motion.
You got a sheet there.
Am I going to do all of them?
Yes, if you want.
Is this the right one?
Car wash?
Is that BMW?
59, 2024.
Nope.
Nope, that's not the
I
one.
can,
Who's got it? Take it.
Do it?
Oh, there it is.
Okay, do you want to do it?
Go ahead.
oh yeah, I have that one. Okay. I move that Site 59-9-2024 dated September the 18th, 2024, submitted by BWM Car Wash LLC, Todd Gassam, could that be approved?
Pronounce it, Todd.
It's Gasun, like Gasun height?
The sun.
That's how you can remember it.
I was close, very close.
Yeah.
Be approved because it appears to meet all applicable requirements for the zoning chapter, subject to the following conditions. All outstanding issues identified in Giffords Webster's December 11, 2024 review shall be addressed to the reasonable satisfaction of the city planner. All outstanding issues identified in the city's engineer's December the 4th, 2024 inter-office correspondence shall be addressed to the reasonable satisfaction of the city engineer, and all outstanding issues identified in the fire marshal's December 4th, 2024 inter-office correspondence shall be addressed to the reasonable satisfaction of the fire marshal.
For support?
Second.
Steve? Second. Moved and supported. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Have a great holiday.
Thank you,
too.
gentlemen.
Happy holidays.
Soon, Todd, soon.
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 G-soon. G-soon.
All right.
Next item on the agenda is site plan 61-11-2024. The address is 29455 and 29403 Grand River. Construction of a gas station service station with drive-through restaurant within the B3 General Business District. The action requested is site plan approval. The applicant is Silken Gold Real Estate Development. The owner is currently Luxury Holdings. We're here for Silken.
Very good. Good evening, Planning Commission. My name is David Bruckelmeyer with Sheets. Our address is 39300 West 12 Mile Road, Farmington
Wait,
Hills.
let me stop you. I made a mistake again.
Yeah, we keep.
Joe,
Staff needs to go.
she has to go. I'm
Sorry, I
sorry.
jumped the gun. Sorry.
No, it was me. I was looking at you and,
He's going through his internship.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's my first 100 days.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
Joe, go.
Yes, so we're at the southwest corner of Middlebelt and Grand River here. Currently, there is a small building on the corner with some parking, and then there's a second lot that kind of wraps around it with frontage on both roads. It's got some kind of old pavement on it, but it's otherwise not in use. And they are proposing to demolish that current building and construct a new fueling station with 6 pumps and 12 fueling positions. Front of the building would be oriented toward Middlebelt. That is 6,132 square feet. It is a sheet store, would include a convenience store and a restaurant. No drive-through service is included in this proposal. We're at a little less than 2 acres here. It's zone B3. And a gas station and a carryout restaurant are both principally permitted uses in the B3 district, subject to Planning Commission approval and the standards of sections 427 and 428. We looked at the dimensional standards of the B3 district, and they are meeting them. We have a note that there is not an identified loading space here. And we have a couple of setbacks that we want added a little more precisely to the plans, but we've scaled them out and they're met. The standards of 427, which apply to fast food or carryout restaurants, don't apply in the B3 district, so we've skipped adding those to the letter. For gas stations, there are some standards for the B3 district. We, of course, will defer to the fire department for their review of the truck turning, but from what we can see, it looks like the standard is met for maneuvering of delivery trucks and emergency vehicles. There are a couple of minor notes under some of the other notes there for 428. We just like a note added to the plan for the storage of trailers, et cetera. And then we're again noting that we don't see a loading space noted on the plan. The dumpster is located in the front yard, which is not a permitted location. It's supposed to be in an interior side yard or rear yard. You can see that the property line on the western side of the site kind of steps, and that pushes the, oh, I guess we don't have the thing up on the screen, but that pushes the dumpster forward. Chris, are you able to get the thing back up there?
Switch it over. You have a sheet number you want us to look at?
I think Chris is trying to bring it up.
Okay. It's down on the screen here.
That was not coming
All right,
on.
here it is.
Yeah.
Your screen doesn't work.
Engineering.
Sheet C1.0.
So that has been identified, that location of the dumpster has been identified as a,
Sheet C1.
something that would require a variance to keep it in the same place. As far as the minimum parking, they do meet that. We had some notes on the signs that were included in the package, but those are ultimately reviewed under separate applications, so we don't need to dwell on them here. One of those signs may be in the corner clearance area, though, so that's something that should be cleaned up if that is the case. We have a couple of minor issues with the landscaping. There are generally things that can be handled administratively. Lighting as well has some minor issues. Basically, the site just has a lot of lighting on it, but
Look at this.
they are providing the pedestrian connections that are required to both Grand River and Middle Belt. And if you have anything else you'd like me to address from the letter or any clarification you'd like, I'm happy to provide that.
So you said something about, I'm sorry if I'm interrupting. You were talking about the dumpster being in the front yard. And in the write-up, the dumpster also points out that it's next to a residential property.
Right.
So there are two problems with it in a way. I will point out that using the legend, I've determined that the dumpster's 20 feet from the property line.
It is, yes.
Yeah, it's in one direction and almost 30 feet in another direction. So the real issue is whether or not it's in the front yard, and there doesn't seem to be almost anything that isn't in the front yard here.
Yeah, that's correct. It's a corner lot, and that means that there's very little interior side yard.
Yeah.
And there's basically no rear yard. Um,
So we can say it's okay, or they have to go get a
It
variance?
does require a variance.
A
Because we
variance.
don't have a waiver ability in the ordinance that can be handled by the planning commission.
Okay, I will say, given the constraints they face, they've given it a college try. How about that?
You're up.
Who's next?
Joe, you're done, right?
Yes, if you're done with me.
I am, apparently, many times tonight.
I'm officially here now. All right,
Yes, you're
very
on.
good. Well, again, members of the Planning Commission, thank you for having us here tonight. My name is David Bruckelmeyer with Sheets. Our address is 39300 West 12 Mile Road, Farmington Hills, Michigan. We're happy to be here tonight. If I could get my presentation up on the screen.
Good luck.
I guess I'm going,
It's on.
oh, it's on yours. Well, I guess I'm going to have to
It is
talk
on
through
our
it by
screens
memory,
in
but I'm
front of
sure I
us.
can do that pretty well. So, again, we're here tonight for a site plan approval. Our site is at the southwest corner of Grand River and Middlebell Road. And just a quick little bit about Sheets. So again, we were started in 1952, Central Pennsylvania, family-owned, family-operated, and essentially Bob Sheets went and bought his dad's dairy store completely at risk and turn it into what we are today, which is 760 locations across multiple states and a fantastic organization with a great culture. I can go through all of our accolades. We have an incredible level of benefits.
So you may recall that someone who came up really appreciated the fact that they didn't have to wait till 11:30 to start. And that was after the last time you were here. So I'm sorry, but we just don't need that. We got it.
Understood. Well, we can move right into the
But
details.
we've heard it
then.
several times.
Yeah,
We've heard it several times.
Several times.
Fantastic.
This is not a public hearing, this is a site plan. so-
Fantastic. It was just a little bit of context, but it sounds like you guys are all set
good.
on. So we'll move right into the
Familiar,
details.
And then I read the paper today, so.
Fantastic. Again, we're looking at the elevations here. I'm not sure which page of my presentation this is. It may not even be my presentation, but just to go through four-sided architecture, full brick. We have added some planters per some discussions with staff. We spend a lot of time on this site with staff. Obviously, you've seen we've got a few site constraints that are a little unique. There's a lot of utilities around the property. Obviously, we really struggle to find a place that fit the zoning ordinance with the setback of the dumpster, and it really was not possible. We went through multiple iterations, and we just could not find anything that complied. So we do know we do have to go to ZBA in order to obtain a variance for that. So I guess with that, I would entertain any questions you may have about the site plan.
Steve, no,
There we go.
Danielle,
Here we go.
Danielle, go.
When I look at this, the marked off site, it looks like there is a side street
Two-lane.
yeah, like right off Middle Belt, there's this little, is that a street?
Yeah.
And are you saying you're gonna cut off this, can you, so it's like a side street and then it goes into a circle? Is that a part of the property of that gas station that's the corner, or is that a
That's the
street?
old McDonald's driveway. There used to
There
be a
used to be a
McDonald's there, and
McDonald's
that was the back way into McDonald's. So it's part of the property. It's not street.
It was two properties you're joining.
Correct, yes. So I think the parcels have been combined already.
Right.
But, yeah, as it stands right now, there's essentially kind of that blighted old McDonald's property, as well as the vacant auto service station that's on the corner.
This curb cut on Middle Belt is not the current McDonald's exit, then, where it is?
It is not, it is vacant land.
Okay.
Oh, sir.
Danielle, do you have more questions?
I do,
That's how you used to get into McDonald's.
'cause I'm,
There's the old building.
yes, I got that part. The part I'm confused about is right at the corner of Grand River and Middle Belt, isn't there a Sunoco gas station?
That's this place they're gonna tear down.
That's the place you're gonna tear down, because you've already bought it and closed it,
Yes.
because it was opened like 3 months ago. Got it. Okay.
Any other questions? Steve, do you have a question?
Yeah, it seems like traditionally Sheets has been doing drive-throughs, and you're not doing one in this location?
That is correct. You know, with the unique constraints of the parcel and some of the issues we ran into, we cannot fit a drive-through operation on this and make it functional. So in this case, we would just have our full convenience, still the full offering, just minus drive-through.
Yeah, where are you parking your tankers when they fill your undergrounds? Where are they on here?
Can you say that one more time for me?
Where are you going to park the tankers when they come in? How are you going to get them into the site and off?
So if you see our canopy along Middle Belt, if you
Right.
look just east of that to the dark area that's rectangle, that is going to be the area where we have our underground storage tank.
Okay, and they can just pull in there easily and,
If you could flip to sheet, is it 2.0?
It's the next sheet, shows the other.
If you could flip to the next sheet, now it's not on this. In the next sheet of your packet, it may show a little bit more clearly the UST field.
C20?
C2.0, yes.
okay, 200, yeah.
So that shows the auto turnover tanker. Obviously, we've spent a lot of time with staff thinking about how to design this
So you
property.
come in off Middle Belt and then go off on Grand River? Okay.
Correct. So our truck loading zone for the fuel would be all the way up on Middle Belt. Yep.
Got it, okay.
That would be called the truck turn plan.
Your radiuses will fit for what are you using?
We're very comfortable. It's a large truck. We use the largest truck we have on our turning program just to make sure any truck can make it. It's a WB67. It's a full-size truck, and we feel that we can circulate the site with any kind of emergency vehicle as well as the large delivery
Your
truck.
tankers are 6,000 gallons?
They vary in size, but they're roughly 8,000 total.
8,000, okay.
The normal ones. Some of them are a little bit bigger, but they are full-size tankers, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the proponent? Steve?
The tanks from the current corner lot, are they still in? Are,
What are we looking at underground?
I believe there is an old heating oil UST and I think there's another UST associated with that. They will all be coming out of the site. There's some other remedial efforts that are going to go on. And obviously that entire corner would be raised and completely leveled.
So we're assuming contamination on the soil?
Yes.
Dale?
Is this a typical size store, or has this been modified? It's a little smaller than what we saw last month.
This is only about 2 square feet smaller. So we need 2. I mean 7 square feet smaller. So our building with the drive-through is 6139. You're looking at a 6132. This is a very prototypical building. Just 7 square feet smaller.
And what is your total investment in this corner with the redevelopment?
This is going to be a minimum of $9 million. It's probably going to be more north of that by the time we're done.
Because of the hazardous waste?
Partially. There's a lot of utility relocations that have to happen on the site and a few other things. So there's a pretty good amount of cost. We have some soils that, just from a geotechnical standpoint, need to go just to have a really well-built site. So there's a few things going on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Joe?
Is the Grand River bus stop for Middle Belt on this side or on the other side of Middle Belt? You know,
I don't know well enough
I
to-
will just let you know where I'm coming from. I'm trying to promote having bus shelters. And I'm looking at your landscape plan with all these trees you're putting in and everything, which is wonderful. But if the bus stop is there, I would just like to incorporate, not at your cost, the design of this is where the shelter would be.
Be more than happy to work with city staff.
Okay, and I just don't know if it's there or not because my car was broken.
We did just have a discussion back here. We believe it is on the other side, but if it is on our side, we'll work with city staff.
You got it.
Yeah.
It's on both sides. If I'm not mistaken, there's one in front of the,
Enterprise?
no, on Middle Belt. It's in front of the Coney Island or whatever that restaurant is. And then there's one a little further down by where
Oh, this is where the bus comes down Middle
Yeah,
Belt
it
because
comes
it does
down.
that jog.
There is also a bus stop on Grand River across Middle Belt.
Across, but
It's
there
at the
is not
car
one in
rental
front of
place,
yours, so
yeah.
Ignore me.
Fair question.
They do.
Any other questions? Yes.
From your perspective, given the restaurants that are already in this area, like the family-owned restaurant that's right across the street that you would be competing with, the McDonald's, the Wendy's, the KFC, what exactly are you bringing to the table by opening up in this spot? Especially since just a mile and a half, 2 miles down the road, you're opening up a Sheets?
No.
No what?
It's like 3 miles and it hasn't been voted on by council yet.
Yeah.
So it may not happen.
Okay, it may not happen,
But that plan was a PUD.
Right.
In that plan, it's appropriate to ask an unlimited amount of questions. This plan is site approval. And we pretty much have to limit our comments, I would say, to this specific site,
to the zoning?
to the
Or
zoning.
to the
Because it's
site?
not a PUD like the other one is.
To the zoning requirements.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay, anything else? Phyllis, you have anything?
No, I mean, as of today, that's proper zoning here for this use, yes.
Yeah, I think some discussion of the dumpster is warranted. As Tom and I were talking about the timing, and we've got an amendment that is about to become effective, and that might make a variance a little more problematic. So looking at that dumpster location, what defines the yards, the rear yard, the side yard, is the location of the building. So if you draw a line from the, the front line of the building all the way down to the southern property line, that would be the side yard. So
So
that
you're saying make
dumpster-
the building bigger or
that-
move it forward a couple of feet?
or move the dumpster back. So I want to tell you I want to read the standard about that residential property line to you. What it says is dumpsters and their screening enclosures shall be located as far as practicable from any adjoining residential district or use, and shall in no instance be located within 20 feet of any residential property line or district. So that's kind of what they're dealing with there, is that they've got the 20 feet, and then that's where the side yard is. So.
If I may,
Mhm.
if they were to only have 10 feet of their building sticking out a few more feet, would it then be in the side yard?
Strictly speaking, yeah.
You may not have to move the entire building.
So we did spend a lot of time looking at this with city staff.
Or if you turned it at an angle.
So we can work on being creative. However, there's a incredible amount of utilities running through this property. And one of the issues we ran into is there is a storm line that jogs from that north and south street to the west of our property, and it currently runs right through the middle of the property. Where else would it go, right? So at the moment, we've got to divert that south along the back of our building and east. We also have to have some room for our sanitary exit for our building. Like we went through a lot of utility plans here. There's overhead power lines, gas lines, and all kinds of utility considerations that we did take into this. We can take another look at this with staff to see if we can meet this criteria. And then in addition to that, we actually did look at shifting the building east to try to comply. Created some truck routing issues and a few other problems that we were contending with. My engineer, John Ackerman with Kimley Horn, is here. I think he has a couple things he'd like to run through with you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, John Ackerman, Kimley Horn, 3,000 Town Square, Southfield, Michigan. Joe, what is the minimum setback requirement that we can use for shifting that dumpster west?
It's 20, so it's,
So we're
yeah,
right there.
yeah, no instance shall be less than 20. So I think that's roughly where you are right now, right? You're at.
That's kind of what we looked at, yeah, because we had extensive, when we met with the pre-app with Eric and everybody here, that was one of the discussions that came up, and we were looking at, what isn't a front yard here? And there, it's a problematic issue. There's also overhead utility lines behind that dumpster and gas, right? So I mean, this is just a spaghetti mess of utilities that we're trying to address. So the ability to try and alleviate this by taking the actual Sheets building itself and shifting it east then poses circulation problems that we can't, that won't be able to be addressed.
Right.
So, so my question is there you said a timing issue? What's the timing issue?
It's the fact that the zoning amendment goes into effect at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Tom wants to weigh in on that, but
Calendar year.
Yeah.
December 30th is the effective
Yeah.
date of the ordinance that, for this and Jack's, they would no longer be permitted uses. So I think you have to act. The planning commission needs to act on the ordinance that is in place today. And what happens after you act is going to depend on the ordinances. It's
Because
kind
there
of
isn't going to be a ZBA meeting between now and the 30th.
So if we approve subject to a variance,
Right.
then it becomes a legal question.
It's going to be a legal question either way, Mr. Manti,
Well,
so.
you must enjoy dealing with us.
Well, it seems to me, I mean, I don't know, it seems like this is perfect practical difficulty. I mean, there's no sense totally destroying the site to try to skirt our technical requirements. And if they meet the setbacks to residential, isn't that really what we're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't think planning commissioners want to weigh in on what's a practical difficulty or not. I mean, you're not directing the ZBA what to do.
I'm guessing it may
Okay.
be a practical difficulty issue.
If you want to approve the site plan subject to the ZBA variance, which you've done on occasion, you can do that. If you want to deny it, to let them get the variance, you can do that.
But
If you approve it subject to, which sounds like at least there's some interest in, I think what Joe is letting you know is we have this intervening event that's going to happen on the December 30th, which may affect their ability to proceed. Same with Jack's Car Wash. Well, you're dealing with the ordinance the way it exists today on December 19th. So you should act accordingly. Do what you would normally do. There is no time to have a ZBA meeting between now and whenever.
So this property is on Grand River, and it is within the, is this within the zone that captures?
the Grand River Improvement Corridor?
Yeah.
It is.
Yes, it is.
CIA?
You know? Yes. That's more of a motivation for me to be pro-development in this area, because some of the taxes that will result will be captured for development elsewhere, improvements elsewhere along Grand River. This is an area that we've highlighted that we really want to clean up.
Yes.
And given that, I have absolutely no hesitation going ahead with, approving it subject to the variance.
So then, through the chair, the typical motion you make is approve it subject to a ZBA variance, or they can amend the plan to make it comply.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to do that?
So
Yeah.
We ready for a motion?
Yes, I think so.
well,
Oh,
if we may, one
Attorney
moment.
has a question. Would you like to speak?
Yeah, thank you. Pardon me for interrupting. My name's Pat Lennon. I'm an attorney with the Honeyman firm representing the applicant. While we were standing here, we were really interested in obtaining the approval tonight, primarily because of the deadlines that are coming. Some ideas have come up about possible shifting of the dumpster that we might be able to squeeze in, and possibly a conditional approval of the site with a new dumpster location that would not require a variance, is something that I think we'd like to describe, if that's a place where we can fit it.
Yeah, if you think you can do it.
So,
Mr. Schultz, are we good with this?
Yeah, they
Joe?
can speak, sure.
Hey, Joe, we have to, regardless, our property line on the southwest corner of this, we need to stay 20 feet away from that regardless, correct?
Yes, correct.
I don't think we can do it. We'd have to lose some, we'd have to shift that building. We'd have to shift the building, no, way more than that.
I mean, I think one thing I would say is you don't necessarily have to solve the problem tonight, but it has to be solved.
Then,
But in a way, it has to be solved tonight, doesn't it?
Yes, to avoid your problem.
Whoa, hang on. I'm not gonna argue with Mr. Lennon here. What happens on December 30th when the new ordinance comes into play is an issue that we'll resolve elsewhere. We're not gonna do that tonight. You're acting on December 19th with an ordinance the way it is today, and you should do whatever you're gonna do. When December 30th hits, I'm sure we'll have conversations with Mr. Lennon and his client about whether or not they're good or not. You just need to act with the ordinance that it is in place today. We'll deal with the fallout later.
On top of that, right, if we say we allow them to amend the plan to get rid of the necessary variance, if they figure a way to either move the dumpster or shift the building, we can approve it saying that if they shift the building or move the dumpster to be in compliance, we'll approve that as well. So it doesn't have to be solved tonight.
You know, when you say they can move the building and all that, that's a pretty liberal site approval plan there. If you don't mind, Mr. Chair, while these folks are talking, can I go to the bathroom for a couple of minutes? Can we have a little break for a couple?
Do we need to do you want to call a
Did you want
recess?
a break?
We can call a 5-minute recess.
Let's do a 5-minute
I'm doing it
recess.
for you. I'm doing this
great.
for you.
Maybe we can work this
5-minute
out
recess.
tonight. It's only 9:15, yes, Joe. Chair's in recess for 5 minutes. We're back from the recess.
All right.
Did you guys solve the problems of the world?
What would you like to do?
We were over here, yeah, using a little bit of brain power, but I think we've come up with a way. So essentially, I think what we could request here tonight is, you know, an approval, if you should approve us contingent upon either a variance or creating a compliant plan. We did come up with a little bit of an idea here. We could move some of those parks on the north side on Grand River, slide our site up a little bit, and I think we can just sneak in. We'll have to do a little bit of a custom dumpster, but I think we could sneak a dumpster in there on the southeast corner of our building that would comply with the setbacks. So we'll have to do a little shift to the building north, and I think we can make a compliant plan, both parking, all the other things like that, but we would accept it, you know, an approval contingent upon either a variance or providing a compliant plan.
Well, the only thing with the compliant plan is it's all, I'd like to be as specific as he was.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't set precedents, you know?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, I move that site plan 61-11-2024 dated November 13th, 2024, submitted by Skilkin Gold Development, be approved because it appears to meet all the applicable requirements of the zoning chapter, subject to the following conditions. Number one, all outstanding issues identified in the Giffords-Webster December 10th, 2024 review shall be addressed to the reasonable satisfaction of the city planner. All outstanding issues identified in the city engineer's December 5th, 2024 inter-office correspondence shall be addressed to the reasonable satisfaction of the city engineer. All outstanding issues identified in the fire marshal's December 4th, 2024 inter-office correspondence shall be addressed to the reasonable satisfaction of the fire marshal. Number four, that pending approval of a variance by the ZBA or a revised site plan shifting the building northbound to move the dumpster out of the front yard, front or side
To the
yard.
south of the building.
To the south of the building.
Discussion, after a second.
Who's supporting?
Who supports it?
I support.
All right, Grant. Grant,
Question?
gotcha.
Question?
Yes, go.
Well, to the motion, so variance to the dumpster location is in your motion.
Variance to the dumpster location.
My question is on the second condition, the other condition you made about designing it, I don't think we should design it. I think they either are subject to, that should be it, period. It's subject to the dumpster, period. If they come back with a revised plan, then we'll have to approve a revised plan. Because quite frankly, if they come in and plan to start moving building, I'm gonna be interested in circulation, stacking, or parking and lifts and that sort of thing. You know what I'm saying? So just for us to say, or subject to you moving the building a little bit and we tuck it in over here or whatever, I'm gonna probably wanna see that again, as it relates to everything else.
I guess, I see where you're coming, but in my mind, if we're shifting the building up just enough to fit the dumpster in, I'm good with that revision, but if you're not, then.
Well, I would go with subject to ZBA approval on the dumpster and end it there. I would not give any kind of, in our motion, that we're designing, or through their representation, we're gonna design moving a building and doing other things that could spring other issues that we haven't reviewed, right?
If
you move the building or whatever, maybe we end up having another variance issue. I don't know. So I don't know that now. That's why I would say I would not support them.
So I guess through the chair, I guess the way you've handled this in the past, and I guess the way.
Through administrative review.
Yeah, so essentially, you know, you could specify a minor amendment that doesn't change the site plan in a significant way, can be reviewed administratively and, you know, deal with it that way. I defer to Mr. Tangeri here. I think the question maybe should go to the planners, to the things that can be done here, would he consider them to be minor in nature?
Yeah, I mean, it depends a little bit on what they do. because there probably are things that we could consider minor that would solve the problem. And then there are maybe more wholesale changes that we'd have to consider major. But if they're able to do something, reasonably subtle, then, I mean, it's,
So you can give him that authority if you're comfortable, and I'm not suggesting that Member Conigan is wrong, it's just,
Should I reword it along the lines of subject to minor changes to alleviate the dumpster issue, subject to staff review?
That would be fine.
Yeah, a minor amendment to the plan that doesn't require a ZBA variance for the dumpster. I just don't think in the record, we should be talking about moving the building in any direction, up or down or whatever. Because again, if we start moving buildings, this is all dimensioned. It's, it's going to affect parking lot size, aisle lengths.
Yeah, I think either way, it needs to be reviewed by planning administratively.
Right.
Mr. Conigan's amendment, which I think I heard, that a minor amendment to the plan that doesn't require any additional variances.
Without description of how the plan.
I think it's fine.
That's up to them to figure that out. I don't want
I'll accept that one.
to. Okay.
Second, are you?
I will,
With the seconder, I think she is.
yeah.
No, well, somebody.
Did you
Yes.
second this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you good with that?
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Cool.
Could I have a repeat one more time of the number 4 pending, I know that,
Well,
I don't want to have to write it.
4 is subject to ZBA granting of a variance for the dumpster, or you want
A minor amendment to the plan, which can accommodate the dumpster without requiring ZBA approval,
subject to staff review.
as reviewed by staff.
Okay, I think that's clear.
Make everybody happy?
Yeah.
Kat, do you have anything else you want to add?
Thank you. No, we
Well,
appreciate your consideration.
Joe,
I just wanted to say that I appreciate Mr. Conigan's wisdom. And I have taken my scale here and applied it, and, if they were to just move the building, and he's probably got a good point.
Okay,
Let him play with it. They needed more than 5 minutes.
okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Chair is voting aye. So,
Thank you. Thanks for the on-the-fly conversation. We appreciate it.
I have a question for you. Kitty corner from your office, how's that going?
It's coming along. We're working through our variance process for a couple of things through Eagle, and we have site plan approval, as well as ZBA variance we needed. So we are progressing along pretty well.
That's only 5 miles from 12 and Middleville.
It is. It is. We're very confident in that site. We're excited to have something. We wish it was in Farmington Hills. We just couldn't get the property to the
If we get this up,
southeast.
you'll have one in each city.
We're excited to be able to showcase the location there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, you did, yeah. Bye, doctor.
Yeah, why not?
Mr. Chair, I move the approval of the November 21st, 2024 regular meeting minutes, and thank Cheryl and Tom and making sense of my motion from that meeting.
This building here.
So I had submitted a corrected set of minutes that did not, that's not what you got tonight. It's a small correction on page 18, where Commissioner Conigan is listing all the key considerations before the sheet's motion, and it's just going to be amended to read, in the current instance, key considerations offered by Commissioner Conigan included, and then it's just that list. So it's just adding the 3 or 4 words of offered by Commissioner Conigan, so
That's
we
fine.
know where they came from.
That's fine with Conigan.
Okay.
Okay, so moved and supported. All those in favor of approval of the minutes as corrected, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Okay, who moved?
I did.
Podium.
I supported.
Okay,
Podium left up.
There you go, there you go.
get it? Okay.
All right. We have commissioner comments. I need to talk to you guys, but
We didn't do public comments.
oh. Public comments? Sorry. You've waited patiently all night. Please come up and give your name.
Good evening, city planning officials. My name is Dr. Betts King. I live at 29580 Belfast in Farmington Hills. I own a Farmington Hills business, King & Associates Psychotherapy, and I've lived here for 15 years. The proposed Sheetz gas station site at Grand River and Middle Belt is extremely close to the Rouge River, and I have 3 points of concern with this location, which will take 3 minutes. For the record, the business on the corner that you're speaking of is not a gas station. It's an auto repair shop and oil change business. Point 1, flood risk and spill concerns. Gas stations are high-risk sites for spills during storm events, and with the Rouge River watershed prone to flooding, contaminants from such spills can easily enter the river, where floodwaters can lift and carry petroleum products and other contaminants far beyond the immediate spill site. These toxins would flow not just downstream, but also into residential basements and yards in flood-prone neighborhoods. Unlike regular water damage, petroleum contamination in homes is extremely difficult and costly to remediate. Residents could face long-term health risks from this exposure to these chemicals, and insurance companies often don't fully cover damage from contaminated floodwaters, leaving homeowners with significant financial burden. Point 2, water quality and pollution risk. The Rouge River faces significant challenges with water quality, including high chloride levels from road salts and chronic pollution levels at multiple sites. Gas station risks increase pollution due to potential spills and stormwater runoff containing petroleum products and other toxic substances. This would exacerbate existing water quality issues, threatening both aquatic life and the health of the ecosystem. Point 3, habitat for sensitive and endangered species. The Rouge River serves as a critical habitat for sensitive species, such as the state endangered red-side dace, which is the only minnow to leap from the water and eat winged insects, including mosquitoes. Recent findings show that successful reproduction of this species is occurring. Gas stations increase the risk of habitat degradation through chemical runoff, which could devastate these fragile populations and reduce biodiversity. Farmington Hills and you by proxy are stewards of the Rouge River, and as such have a responsibility to protect this great resource to the best of your ability. There are many other sheet sites under consideration that are not critically close to the river. I encourage the city to work closely with Friends of the Rouge River to assure both river and resident safety. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good time. Yes, Joe.
I'm just going to start out with the commissioner comments, okay? Well, we all know that with a site review plan, there is not a public, an opportunity for the public to speak. You also know that I've been on committees in the city of Farmington, not just in Farmington Hills. And in the committees that we have, at least on our parking committee, and I believe it applies to other committees there, they have the public comment period before, at the beginning of the meeting, not at the end of the meeting. So I think that this is an example. We should discuss whether, at a later date,
right,
whether or not public comments should be before or after. And I would bet that Dale has an awful lot of things to say because he was with the department even before, and
Well,
okay. It's
well, as it relates to the comments, I think we appreciate the comments coming here tonight. I mean, the engineering department's here. This is a public meeting and being recorded, those comments. And also, I would say that especially with auto-related redevelopment, usually we see vast improvement in terms of environmental improvements with redevelopment. So whether you're dealing with older tanks, underground, whatever, remediation work is usually a net positive for the community in terms of the natural features surrounding and near the development site. So I think the comments are right on. I think engineering's heard the comments, is aware that property owners in the area are concerned about the environment, and that they do everything necessary to make sure they make it an improvement, as it should be. So we're hopeful, and it will be a net positive for the community in that area as it relates to the, the environmental aspects of the site. So, and of course, the other issue is what, Joe, you mentioned up, the order of business. I think it's not, the message has been delivered, and I think it will be passed on. And we appreciate it. Thanks for coming in tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have any comments. I just wish everyone happy holidays. But I do agree with Joe as far as movement.
Okay. Marissa?
Happy holidays, everyone.
I think part of the movement of this, and I can't remember, you'll remember, Chris, this was done, I think even before the massive protests at the council, and they finally moved theirs to the end so they could get through business, because their meetings were going past midnight on a great regular basis. Now that's stopped now, but I think that was part, we never had that kind of issues here, but I think that might have been why this was changed. I don't remember when it was changed.
It's been that way for a while. I think one of the, if there's an opportunity for the public to comment, it's going to be at a public hearing. And so what happens, and I think what the Planning Commission was thinking when it put it at the end is, a lot of times these are site plans. They're not discretionary decisions. Right. And you end up with a lot of public comment about don't approve this plan, only to be told by your planner and your engineer and your city attorney, you got to approve the plan. And people leave angry.
Yes.
Not, you would think because they got their say, they wouldn't, but more like, well, why did I come here if you had to if you couldn't take my comment into account and deny the plan? So it's partly that. I mean, it's a policy decision and you should talk about it, but that's kind of where it emanated from back in the day.
Tom, can it be the discretion of the chair sometime if somebody wants to speak on an issue, the chair could say, okay, make an exception?
Yes. If you recall, former Chair Conigan, didn't you get sued for that once, I believe?
Yeah.
What? Or no, Glenn Fleischhacker got sued for that, for allowing comment, allowing comment out of turn like that, and we won, but, he thought it was appropriate at that time to take some comment, even though it wasn't an obligation. So, yes, the chair does have that authority.
So the order is now, you get an opportunity to educate, hear what the proponent has to offer, and to ask questions, and then educate the audience and ourselves about the project. And maybe a lot of questions are answered through that process. If you wait through it, then comment on something. So that's the other side of it, right?
Council uses blue slips, too.
Yeah.
That might be something to think about. Anybody else? No?
No, but finish the line. You didn't. Commissioner comment.
No, I know. I'm working, pointing and saying it. Are you done?
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, everybody.
Danielle?
I'm good.
Steve?
When are our January meetings?
The 23rd is a capital improvements meeting, and the 16th is regular meeting. And I'll tell you right now, the 23rd is my birthday, and I expect a lot of gifts. No, I'm kidding. You can bring a cake.
So January 23rd and what?
16th, or, yeah. So
January 16th and
23rd.
Wait, what?
Capital improvements on the 23rd.
Will there be a study session, do you know?
Well, that's a good question. That's what I want to talk. I'm going to adjourn the meeting right now. Paul?